Good afternoon. Are you ready to go on? I will keep my remarks short. It's been such an honor for me to be here. I want to thank everybody for taking the time during the hallway conversations to speak to me. Which one? Both? Okay. To speak to me, to share your thoughts. It's really been an honor. And everybody's been asking me, what do you do? What's your job? And I've just spent about 55 years in the field of early childhood. I'm about to do 55th year. Yes. And I'm trying to turn the microphone over to someone else because I really believe in young leadership, in the leadership of the next generation. So I'm going to do some reflections on what I heard while I was here, but I'm also, since I had to do this before I was here, it's a little hard, so I'm going to try to fit that together. And I'm going to be short, I promise, because I know that I'm the last speaker. So, I hope this goes. Is it me? I got it. So I want to start by thanking Dr. Ghassan. Could you help me thank Dr. Ghassan? So all around the world there are other Dr. Ghassans, right? In every country there's a Dr. Ghassan. In every community, there's a Dr. Ghassan. We have to find those other Dr. Ghassans and bring them to the table and make them the leadership of the next generation. That's the way you honor Dr. Ghassan. So I want you to remember that and take that with you. I also, of course, want to thank the whole staff of the Arab Early Childhood, the Arab Network for Early Childhood, and everyone that's put this conference together, and the Moving Minds Alliance. So I thank you to all of them. No, now I'm going the wrong way, Mohammed. I'm really messing up here. Sorry. You'll do it. Good idea. So this is Dr. Ghassan. I also want to thank the National Council for the National Council for Family Affairs in Jordan. Actually, I came here for the National Council in 2003. So, and then I came back another time. So it's my third time in Jordan, and it's always a pleasure and exciting for me to be here. I want to also thank the translators. I don't know how you feel, but give them a hand. Yes. And the people with the cameras, I don't know how you felt when they were going around with the cameras. It's a little intimidating, but I really want to thank them. One of the most exciting things that I heard here from the people that were here from the National Council was when they talked about the strategy in Jordan for economic modernization. And early childhood was part of a strategy for economic modernization. That's different, that's new, that's something that we should all remember so that we sell this as part of economic modernization. So I want to tell you, Ghassan asked me to talk about the next generation of research. But this conference, throughout the whole thing, talked about the next generation of research. So I'll skip that topic, Dr. Ghassan. And instead, I'd like to just touch on 3 topics. I want to mention the Moving Minds Alliance. I've been co-chairing their research forum, so I want to tell you a little bit about that. Then I want to talk a little bit about the groundbreaking implications for the strategic model that we've been hearing about that is developed in the region, and then close it out with the ecology of child development, the new ecology of child development, and the implications of that for the roadmap. So those are the three things I'm going to talk about. But before I do that, I just want to reflect for a second on the topics that were in the title of the conference. It was research, rights, regional action. And one of the things that I think I heard from Dr. Magdani right from the beginning was when he talked not about research. What was the word he used? He said, I don't always use research, I use data. And what was exciting about that for me was research is the process, data is what we get out of it. And so what we're really after is what is the research telling us, and then how do we put it into action? And I think that there's often a debate about do we do something because it's evidence-based or do we do something because it's rights-based? But I think what Mark was telling us this morning is that you use research, you use the data to make sure children are getting their rights. That's the whole goal here. And taking action, the title of the conference said regional action. But I think it can't just be regional action. It has to be action at the national level that connects with action at the local level. So it's local action to national action to regional action to global action. I think that we've had that reversed over the last several years, and the global strategies have driven the agenda. Those days are over. It's now really about hearing from the grassroots and having that inform what happens at the local, national, and hopefully global level. We've got a long way to go. I mean, that's one of the things that I think we want to promote. Dr. Cottrane also talked about how this is the era of contradictions. Do you remember him using that term? The era of contradictions? And I thought it was, I don't know exactly if I have it right, what you said, but I think we talk a lot about rights, and then we don't acknowledge children's rights. And so it's sometimes a lot of talk. We sign documents, and then we've got conditions that children are in that are not addressing their rights. And so I wanted to continue to point that out. If we go to the next one, I wanted to come back to the topic of rights just for one more minute. And you know, this was a picture that a child drew. And someone gifted it to me. Unfortunately, this was not a picture from a child who's currently in a conflict zone. This is a picture from a child who drew it 20 years ago. And that same child could have children now, and his children could be, or her children, I don't know if it was a girl or a boy that drew it, could be facing conflict themselves. This is the intergenerational conflict that we really have to stop. I want to remind us that along with the CRC that we heard about at the beginning of this conference, General Comment 7 is the part of the convention that talks directly about young children. And this is what it says. It says, in the context of war, or this is what it means, in the context of war, this means ensuring young children's protection, access to basic needs, and opportunities for developing. Is that happening? That's what we have to use as our benchmark for children if we're going to uphold their rights, and they have that right. So going to the next one, let me talk a little bit about the Moving Minds Alliance. And is Sarah here? I don't see her. Oh, there you are. You saw a great example of what the Moving Minds Alliance is when you heard the wonderful panel that Sarah did the other day. In 2017, the Van Leer Foundation, and we're happy to have the representatives from Jordan in the room from the Van Leer Foundation, and several other foundations got together and decided to create a movement to put the spotlight on young children in emergencies. There were several foundations that led to some real focus on research, because what we were seeing then, and I was with the foundation at the time, what we were seeing then was that there was a lot of research, but it wasn't focused on young children. The data wasn't disaggregated. It wasn't being developed by people in a conflict situation. And I was really moved when I heard the comment this morning about how difficult it is to do research in a war zone, and how people don't appreciate what you have to go through. I was sharing with her that I was editing a journal, and we were trying to get articles from people that were working in conflict zones all over the world. And the peer reviewers were saying, well, the methodology is not right. And we were trying to explain to them how difficult it is to do research in those situations, and there needs to be much more understanding of that. So one of the things that we've tried to do at the Moving Minds Alliance is develop a forum on research where we've tapped into the expertise of people around the world that are working in conflict zones. We did that from 2022 to 2024. We did several reports, we've done several webinars, but it was still, I felt, being driven too much by people in the North, to be honest with you. So we decided to take a new step, and Dr. Ghassan was central to this, and we decentralized it. So now those same activities are the BRAC Research Fellows that you heard about yesterday, and this meeting. Part of the effort to turn that forum into something that's more actionable was to fund this meeting. So I think, and to get a research director, which is what Sarah is doing now. So we're really excited that we think we're going to continue to put the spotlight, not just on the research, but the action that comes out of the research, which is what I think we're all saying today. So if we go to the strategic research model, and Dr. Lotfi, I wish you'd stand up for a second. Give her a big hand, because what she has been able to do, what you've all been able to do, is put on the map a model that is culturally appropriate, that listens to caregivers, that shares information across countries, that builds capacity. This is a remarkable accomplishment. And I think that you should not only be proud of it, you should talk about it, you should share it with other regions of the world, because it's a breakthrough in research. Research is changing. And I think what you're doing here, and it's not just because I'm here, what you're doing here is really the new way of doing research. It doesn't just sit in a publication. You make it actionable, and you get the information out. I was mentioning when I was listening to the climate-related research effort, and I've said this to our colleague from Oman several times during the meeting, that research has implications for parents. They should know about what effect and how to keep their children safe during extreme heat, the importance of hydration, the importance of that young children can't cool down the same way as adults can. And so it's got implications for parents. It's got implications for practice, and he talked a little bit about that. Changing the curriculum so that we create a new generation of children that care for the earth. And then, of course, it's got implications for policymakers. So it's not the P in publication, it's practice, it's parents, and it's policymakers. That's what we have to do with our research. So if we go to the next one, I think the next steps for the strategic model are, again, to share it out, to write about it, to do presentations with other regions, and I know we have other regions here waiting for you to do that, and learn from them and share. I think we have to be more proactive in working with policymakers. I spent many years, in government, out of government, in government, out of government, back and forth 3 times. And what I realized about research was often the research was designed without me. So I had to pick up whatever the researchers were doing and try to do something with it. So one, thank you. This is what happens when you're a grandmother. These wonderful daughters take care of you. When I was in government, and I remember a day where they had done a huge study of thousands of programs. I was in charge of early childhood at the time, so all the programs. And the researchers came to give me the findings. And I said, well, tell me, what can I do Monday morning with these findings that will make the program better? What can I do Monday? What did you learn in this research that will help me Monday improve the program? Because the findings were not as positive as I wanted. And you know what they said to me? Oh, sorry. The design of the study did not allow us to provide that kind of information. So what good is it to a policymaker if the research is not telling you how to make improvements or how to change what you're doing? So I think my message in that is that we need to work with policymakers when we're designing things. Not that you always take your cues from them. I realize you have to be independent. But I think it's the rare day where a researcher comes in to somebody in government and says, how can I help you? What is the problem you want to solve? How can I help you design research that will get you an answer to the problem you're struggling with? It's a partnership, and that's part of the new way of doing research. So, and then finally, I think we've got to have a communication plan. So we do research, we want to have some action, and then we put it in an academic publication that people don't read, that are in decision-making places. I mean, I know we have to do peer-reviewed publications, but we've got to be able to communicate. We need media training. We need media training on how to put, you said it, you know, how to put things in simple terms. Hopefully some government officials have more than a 7th grade education. I was laughing when you said that. But I think communication training and thinking about how we communicate our research has to be part of the plan. Go ahead. I said I'd be. So let me turn to my last point, which is the new ecology. We know that, you know, you heard it being referred to as the poly crisis. I think it's really more the conditions and the context of children's lives today. This is what they're living with. They're living with persistent poverty and inequality within a country, in every country, including my own. Urbanization, moving to cities, leaving the rural area, leaving their extended family, leaving their supports to seek work. That's very disruptive. Climate change, conflict, displacement, both of them causing displacement, and then the technology changes. You can't go to an airport and look at young children and not see what technology is doing. I was watching this 2-year-old boy in the airport, 2 years old, screaming for the iPhone, screaming to his mother that he wanted the iPhone. We've got to deal with the reality that children are going to be using technology, and we have to help them protect them, be literate, and use it in the right way. So these are kind of the context. Unfortunately, they're always talked about, and I do it too, in the negative. One of the things that I take away from this meeting is the assets in this region, the strengths in this region. And, you know, there were so many wise things that people said that I'm intimidated to even get up here and talk. I couldn't take notes fast enough. There was philosophical wisdom shared. There was poetry. And yet, if you talk to people about the region, what's the few words they use? That's the asset that you want to share. You want, somebody said it before, you want a generation of children where they feel their strengths, not just the negative conditions. And I think that's part of our challenge. So let me go to the next one. I only have a few left. We've been talking a lot about research in one point in time. We've got to always remember that early childhood is a continuum. It's a loop. And, it starts prenatally, but we've got to take a life course perspective on early childhood. I think we do a lot of focus on the 3 to school entry period. We do pre-primary programs. The goals are focused on pre-primary, but we forget pregnancy, where we know the number one outcome we want is a healthy birth. That's the outcome we're looking for, a healthy birth, a happy mother, and an involved father. Those are the outcomes we're looking for. And then children thriving by 3 and ready and curious in school. But we've got to continue. We stop when they get into school in early childhood. We can't stop. We've got to continue looking at what is building their foundations for learning, building on what they learned earlier, and continue. So I urge us to think across the life course, and if you're going to do a roadmap for research and action, it's got to be a roadmap that shows that continuity. Everybody knows the Nurture and Care framework. I'm not sure we remind people why this is important. It was a big breakthrough, and it came out in 2016 with the Lancet. What is exciting about this is it says the domains of development are integrated. It's based on a child development principle. So the reason we want the Minister of Health to talk to the Minister of Education was not so that they can just be friends. It's because we can't do child development if they're not working together, because that's what the Nurture and Care framework tells us. I think there's been less focus on safety and security than any of the other. We talk about parenting, we talk about responsive parenting, early learning, health, nutrition, but the early childhood community has not been as active in helping define child protection. And we can't wait till children have problems. We've got to do prevention, and that's what safety and security means. It's keeping routines, right? Why do we keep routines? Because it makes children feel safe. Why do we encourage them to play? Because it makes them feel like they're normal. I remember seeing the pictures of children playing in the tunnels in the Ukraine. And I thought, see what they do? They try to find what's normal. And so when we do research, we've got to do research in an integrated way. And someone said it this morning, not one indicator, you said it, not one indicator, but indicators across. I love the Nurture and Care framework, but what I always feel is missing is the connection to family and the connection to the fact that if you're not focused on the well-being of the adult, then you're not focused on child development, because the well-being of the mother and the father affects child development. So when we're doing research, we've got to look at indicators about parents' capability, what's supporting them, and then what are the supportive services and the empowered communities that affects all that. But we can't take them apart. A child doesn't come without a parent. Hopefully. They had one once. Go ahead. I've really been promoting a 2-generational or multi-generational programming that takes the Nurture and Care framework, and this was actually developed by Children in Crossfire. Children in Crossfire is a group that was started by someone who grew up and actually was wounded during the Troubles in Northern Ireland years ago. And they've been using this model where they connect the Nurture and Care framework work, but to the well-being and livelihood and social connections of parents. Because again, you can't disconnect it. Somebody the other day, I can't remember who it was, but said yesterday that we have to integrate social protection into early childhood in a more meaningful and intentional way. And I think that's what this model is doing. Go ahead. The system, we talk about the early childhood system. I think more and more we're referring to it as an ecosystem. And what I mean by that is it's a combination of all the things that affect nurturing care. So it's health, nutrition, mental health, and we heard over and over how important mental health is. It's family, social, and economic support. It's early care and learning, but it's not just early care and learning. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to think that way. And it's neighborhood conditions, housing, environment, safety and security. Those things impact child development, but we're not used to thinking about them as we create early childhood programs. But we have to take that integrated view and we have to bring that into our research. And let me end with this. Every morning I get up early and I read the news, and it's painful. And I like to take walks and try to find every day some hope that will get me through the day and get me forward. And so this is dawn at the beach early in the morning when I was walking, about 6 o'clock in the morning. And someone said in the meeting here, "May God bless the laughter of children." And that's what hope gives me. This meeting gives me hope. I hope you take hope with you. Have a great and safe trip back.